Don't listen to me. Don't listen to William Schnoebelen. Don't listen to William Schnoebelen. Please, by all means, you yourself, okay? You.
Me?
Go do the research for yourself. Look through scripture. Look through history. Even, what these occultic practices were. And you will see clearly, okay? And I pray to God for this wisdom, too. You will see clearly that everything we told you today is 100% right. And it's not that I'm right or Bill's right. It's because God's right.
Chief, mate, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Just like the Bible says, it's basically an intergalactic invasion into this space through people. I'm telling you, it's what all the ancients said, it's what they warned of, it's what we're dealing with. They're demons.
And the satanic cult and coven that's hidden in this Christian church lives like a Christian. Okay, not every one of them, because I wasn't, and I know of a couple other who weren't.
Repent now. A Secretary of State that has had sex in giant vats of feces. They have sexual rituals, some of the most ancient Egyptian rituals, where they believe they are possessed by entities, basically space aliens.
The minions of the evil one can travel through telephone lines. They can travel through cable TV. They can travel through the internet into your computer.
Repent now.
I used to worship this guy, okay? And I don't know if you can see it well on my camera, but you can have a look at this one here, okay?
They're frickin' interdimensional invaders, okay? I'll just say it. Make fun of me all you want. Oh, God. I don't think I've ever laughed this hard on air. Oh, my God. It's so ridiculous.
Hello, my friends. So, this is another video to Mr.BS, Mr. Bill Schnoebelen. There's so much to... I don't know what else more can I say about this man. He's full of shit. So, I mean, at this point, it's really just for a laugh. I feel sorry for Dan Badoni. I can't pronounce your last name. Sorry, Dan. Because Dan used to be on InfoWars, and then InfoWars, got deplatformed, and so Dan is trying to kind of get his own thing going here. And I don't have anything against the guy. I think he's trying to do something with his channel, and that's fantastic. I wish him the best. But people like Bill Schnoebelen. Whatever credibility you have is just going to be diminished by this man, Dan. I'm just being honest with you here. Bill Schnoebelen is just full of shit. Everybody knows that. Christians know it, pagans know it, witches know it, general public knows he's full of shit. The man claims to have lived off of human blood for 18 months.
Or I could go the other way and become a vampire, and I chose to become a vampire because it seemed, sexier somehow. And so anyhow, I went through about a year and a half where basically I lived on nothing but human blood.
He's claimed to have summoned demons and actually witnessed a person being sucked into the gate of hell in a garage somewhere when he was tripping on acid, probably.
Would you please share us the story about the man who got attacked by a demon in his garage?
He was exerting his force on this demon, and the thing was reaching a crescendo. The magic circle was actually glowing. It was so powerful. And I know this is true. And I know this is true because I'm the one who was sitting there keeping track of all this as a scribe. Just when this thing is reaching a crescendo, all of a sudden the phone rang. And the guy reached out of the circle to answer the phone, and instantly the circle vanished, and he vanished, just in a flash of sulfur. And the funny thing was there was no phone in the room.
Ooh.
That's how tricky these demons can be.
The man is just full of shit. Every single person who's come in contact with him can just seize the trail of just bullshit behind him. And he has to change his story. And it's just so ridiculous. So anyhow, Bill's talking about Yule. So let's get into it. If anything, it should be really fucking entertaining. With that said, let's just dive right into this. Put your gloves on. Put your boots on. We're going in deep.
That is one big pile of shit.
All right, folks, welcome to the November 27th, 2018 edition of the Dan Badandi Show, live here on 990WBOB.com. A good friend of mine, he's also a former member of the Illuminaughty. He's been on my show a million times, too.
Mr.BS was not a member of the Illuminati. The Illuminati was started in Bavaria by an Adam Weishkopf in 1776 and was dissolved by the Bavarian government in 1785. Mr. BS claims this, and it is bullshit. How long do you think it will take before your audience seeks answers outside of your echo chamber? When they do, and they will find these lies you are peddling, and they will ask themselves why these Christians would lie. As a result, they will lose trust in you, and they will lose trust in Christianity itself, and they will begin to question it even more. Lying, deceit, and covering the truth is destructive. I am guessing this was the impetus behind God's commandment, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, which, by the way, every Christian I've met online so far seems to violate. Then again, what do I know? I'm just a hell-bound heathen.
November 20th, Doc Joseph Marquise passed away due to a brain tumor.
Dr. Marquise or whatever his name is, was another peddler of lies. But regardless, my condolences to his friends and my condolences to his family.
And, this guy's so full of shit.
I agree. Bill is full of shit.
I don't do numerology. I study it. But in numerology, in the sixth sequence, Santa Claus is anagram for Satan Lucas. Lucas means misleading, blind, and light. In Greek, I believe.
No. Lucas in Greek means man from Lucania. From Ancestry.com. English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Dutch. From the Latin personal name Lucas, or Greek Lucas. Man from Lucania. Lucania is a region of southern Italy thought to have been named in ancient times with a word meaning bright or shining, compared with Lucio. The Christian name owed its enormous popularity throughout Europe in the Middle Ages to Saint Luke, hence the development of the surname and many vernacular derivatives in most of the languages of Europe, compared with Luke. The Latin form of Lucas gave rise to Luke, English form of the Greek name Lucas, which meant from Lucania. Lucania being a region in southern Italy of uncertain meaning, Luke was a doctor who traveled in the company of the Apostle Paul, according to tradition. He was the author of the third Gospel and Acts in the New Testament. He was probably of Greek ethnicity. He is considered a saint by many Christian denominations. Due to his renown, the name became common in the Christian world in various spellings as an English name. Luke has been in use since the 12th century alongside the Latin form Lucas.
And so Satan's misleading, deceiving light. That's what it means. And either Satan, Lucas, or Santa Claus, whatever you want to put it, and the numerology comes up to 666. Not a coincidence at all.
Not only is it not a coincidence, it's not accurate. Which form of numerology? I'll infer you are referring to finding the numbers based on the letters, which would be the only way to get a high number such as 666. This is called gematria. Numerology would be finding a prime number and then basing certain characteristics assigned to those prime numbers. I will also assume you are using the Pythagorean or Greek method as opposed to the Chaldean, Latin, or one of the Hebrew methods. Either way, numbers are assigned to certain letters, usually 1 through 9, 10 through 90, or 100 through 900. The following list is what the numbers would add up to for each method, none of which add up to 666. The sequence of letters doesn't matter, but I'll use the anagram of Santa Claus as Satan Lucas since you pointed this out. The following examples are based on the anagram. I'll start with the Latin method. Santa Claus, or Satan Lucas, the gematria of Satan Lucas would be 546. Using the Greek method, based on the Greek name of Satan Lucas, it would add up to 1,483. The Hebrew method adds up to 231.
Our guest tonight, William Schnoebelen, known as Bill Schnoebelen,
or, as I like to call him, Mr.BS.
So if you want to give a quick introduction to yourself for the new listeners and just go on with, you're exposing this, satanic and pagan holiday.
Yeah, satanic and pagan holiday? Yule is a pre-Christian holiday, much like Saturnalia and other winter festivals. Satanism is a modern adaptation of the Christian mythos and has no historical context or relation to the winter solstice celebrations. Satanists may observe this holiday as Yule or Saturnalia or the solstice, but the holiday itself is not satanic.
Well, yeah, sure. Well, I've been in the ministry since basically 1986, and before that I was a witch and a Freemason and a member of the Illuminati, and so I got saved in 1984.
You are being too modest, Bill. Let's do a list of all your various titles you've given yourself. I hope I get them all. You claim to have been a witch, a Satanist, voodoo priest, a Mormon, Catholic priest, a Druid, higher than a 33rd degree Freemason, an ex-member of the Illuminati, an occultist, a vampire, and now a Christian. You're not a jack of all trades. You're just a bullshit artist who read a few books.
By the blood of Messiah. So, basically I spent the first third of my adult life as an occultist and as a witch. And so, I understand the occult very well.
No, Billy boy, you make very outrageous claims. Supposedly you studied witchcraft for a few years, which does not make you an expert. You weren't serious about any of it, and I highly doubt you are serious about your current claim of being a Christian. When you were in the witchcraft community, you were a lecherous, drugged-out sexual predator, and you were kicked out of the only coven you were in. The following is a few select excerpts from a blog from the perspective of a fellow coven mate who knew and practiced with Christopher Sin, or aka Mr. Bill Bullshit Schnoebelen. I'll put a link to Frater Barabas's blog below. He goes into much more detail and is definitely worth a read. From February 2010, Bill presents a large body of personal experiences to back his claims, but it is rather obvious to me, someone who was there during this period of ascent and decline, that much of what he presents is false or misleading. He was painfully awkward and even made light of the fact that he often tripped over things and was generally unsteady on his feet. Bill had many peculiar habits and was fond of wearing practically nothing when in his home, playing with his scrotum without any self-consciousness. He also habitually picked his nose and often spat while he talked. He was devoted to his wife Sharon, but he also believed that he had the right and obligation to sleep with whoever he wished, and his wife took the same position as well. So the group featured a variety of bizarre social scandals and weird kinky happenings, and a number of divorces as well. The group was very intimate since we practiced our craft in ritual nudity, or skyclad as we called it. I saw others engaged in a kind of casual sexual intimacy with each other, and I felt alone and aloof. Perhaps Sharon sensed my aloneness in the group. We started a brief affair, and that only drew me deeper into the core of the group's soul. However, before things could go too far between Sharon and myself, another man came into the group, fresh from a disastrous divorce, who fell deeply in love with Sharon and became her lover and companion. However, Bill did not particularly like being eclipsed by Rick, yet at first he graciously invited Rick to live with him and his wife. They even shared the same bed, and all this was done perhaps to control Rick and keep an eye on him. But there were indications that things weren't going too well in the group. Bill was having a torrid sexual affair with an odd but shapely redhead who was a member of another coven. In the late summer of that year, 1978, I traveled with Bill to see his parents and learned about the shared lunacy that he and his wife had derived about his origins. They both believed that Bill wasn't really a normal person. He was actually an extraterrestrial female who had invaded and inhabited a young male body. Sharon took a concoction of bee pollen, honey, and other herbs and poured it over Bill's genitals while he laughed in trance. Sounding like some huge dummy, she went down on him, offering him some intense fellatio, while we stood around the altar, stationed in poses of extreme pious adulation. In my mind, I was wondering why in the hell I was there. He never states in his book that he sought to have sex with all of the women in the two covens that he encouraged, in a kind of extreme sexual liberality in the group. Even in your studies of witchcraft, you did not accept personal responsibility. All these events came from you, Bill, not the group. You brought poison into the group, and poison is what came out of it. I want to be clear. Multiple sexual partners, extramarital affairs, and drug use in of themselves are not always bad. However, in a coven setting, it is disastrous. I'm not condoning or condemning these actions, but there is a time and a place for it, and in a coven is not the time nor the place. You have not changed, Mr. BS. You still use people for your own personal ego. Now you have found a group of gullible people who believe your nonsense, and you are blindly milking them out of their money. You are most likely still burning bridges today. You treat people and spirituality as a buffet for you to devour. I pity you, Bill. You haven't learned anything. An occult axiom is know thyself, and you do everything in your power to not know yourself. Your great work is a great disaster.
I understand the occult holidays very well, because a lot of people don't understand that just like there are holidays, that we celebrate, culturally here in America, and then there are holidays that are part of the supposedly Christian calendar, quote unquote. In the same way, there are occult holidays.
There aren't any occult holidays. There are holidays observed by various cultures, groups, and religions, but no occult holidays. While you were scratching your nuts and trying to molest both men and women in the fake coven you formed, didn't you read anything or learn anything, or were you too distracted from engaging in public exhibitionism with your wife and her lover?
First of all, I think it's important to understand that on this day, in this season of Christmas, is a witch/satanic holiday that's called Yule.
Nope. Christmas is the Catholic Christian celebration of the birth of Christ. Yule is a pre-Christian winter celebration, as well as Saturnalia and other winter feast solstice celebrations observed around this time by non-Christian faiths. Satanists do not have celebrations. Although Satanists themselves may celebrate certain holidays, Satanists themselves do not have their own founded celebrations. You should really stick to what you know, and that is scratching your balls and dropping acid.
Before there was Christianity, people in Northern Europe and the British Isles were celebrating this feast as a time of human sacrifice.
Which culture or religion are you claiming performed human sacrifice, and when? The only religion I know of that glorifies human sacrifice is Christianity. The entire religion is based off a human sacrifice. Your God even commanded child sacrifice of Abraham, who was commanded to kill his only son Isaac, from Genesis 22:2. There are, of course, a few other verses that mention human sacrifice. Leviticus 27:28-29. Anything devoted to destruction is most holy to the Lord. No one who may have been set apart among men shall be ransomed. He shall surely be put to death. Exodus 22:29-30. Joshua 6:21. Numbers 31:25-30 and 40-41. Judges 11:30-39. There is no evidence that I am aware of that pre-Christian Northern Germanic peoples ever sacrificed humans on Yule.
As a time of terrible witchcraft type practices, satanic practices, and that's still what goes on to this very day.
This guy's so full of shit.
Modern witchcraft is a reconstruction of pre-Christian and early Renaissance practices combined with the Western occult tradition. Satanism, too, is a more modern practice. Well, actually, more of an antithesis to Christianity than a practice.
Many churches, I remember years ago when I first moved to the city we're now in, which is Dubuque, Iowa, I was attending an independent, fundamental King James Baptist church. And I was at the forefront of this way back in the 80s, leading the charge against Halloween. And most Christians have now wised up to the fact that Halloween is dangerous. It's a damnable satanic holiday.
We are talking about Yule, but anyhow, no. Halloween, which is the Catholic observance of the All-Holy Evening before All Saints' Day, or on November 1st, is not dangerous. The only thing dangerous is your lies about these holidays.
Pagans, for thousands of years, have been locked into this cycle of the seasons.
Pre-Christian cultures were not locked into the cycle of the seasons. The seasons come and go, as they always have. Pre-Christian people observed them. They marked them and labeled them, finding the cycles of summer, winter, fall, and spring. Each of these times marked times of change, which became seasonal festivals. The winter solstice marked a time when the sun appears to grow stronger. The days begin to get longer and the nights shorter, as the northern hemisphere of the earth tilts when we orbit the sun. In contrast, the summer solstice marks the sun's highest point, when the day is longest and the night shortest, as the cycle of the earth tilts more toward the southern hemisphere.
And basically, there was a belief, which they still hold to this day, although they would say, well, it's a metaphor now. They wouldn't say it's literal. But that every year, and we're talking about the northern hemisphere, you know, the like North America and Europe, that as the days grow shorter, which happens after the fall equinox, which is another satanic witch-type feast, that on Halloween, the horn god dies.
It is a metaphor, you fucking idiot. November the 1st marks the end of summer. In Irish, the word is Samhain. As the darkest time approaches, it could be seen by some as a dying sun, or at least weaker. Leading up to this time, the days got shorter, but this was a cycle. It happens every year. It happens in their lifetime, father's lifetime, grandfather's lifetime, and their great-grandfather's lifetime. It was a well-known cycle going back thousands and thousands of years.
One of the two major deities in witchcraft, the other one being the mother goddess. Okay, so he dies on Hallows Eve, which is called Samhain in ancient Gaelic or Welsh and over in Britain.
It's not Welsh, it's Irish, and it's not Britain, it's Ireland. I spend so much time correcting very simple things you should know. Most of these things have nothing to do with witchcraft. It's so annoying.
And then on Yule, when the sun starts to get, because Yule is right at the time of the winter solstice, which is the darkest night of the year in the northern hemisphere, the longest night of the year, when the sun appears to be furthest in the south, you know, and the weakest. And then it starts to start climbing again. And they believe that on that night, the mother goddess was impregnated with a new baby sun god, so to speak.
A reborn sun god? I wonder where that comes from.
And this baby sun god originally was called Tammuz.
So we are leaving modern-day witches, the celebration of Yule, in the 1st century CE in Europe, and we are traveling back about 4,000 years ago to Babylonia, Assyria, which is modern-day southern Turkey and northern Iraq, and is about 3,700 miles away. How are these at all related?
And this goes back thousands of years. This is the most ancient false religious system in the world. And as I heard you say before I came on the air, I mean, there's these different ancient, they're called pagan mystery cults, like in Egypt, in Sumer, in Greece, and in Rome.
I thought you were talking about Yule. You mentioned Rome. Are you talking about Saturnalia? Bill, pick a fucking culture and pick a fucking time period. Stop time traveling around the globe.
And they all basically have the same idea, you know, that there's a god who has died and reborn. You know, Osiris is the best-known version of that, Egypt. And then there's a mother goddess, Isis would be the counterpart in ancient Egypt. And, you know, that this god is reborn every year.
Well done, Poindexter. You managed to crack the mythological code shared by various cultures in the Northern Hemisphere that made up stories to try and explain the changing seasons of summer to winter and winter to summer. Good job. You are now on par with most grade school children who have a cursory understanding of world mythology.
And so but see, here's the thing. Unlike Christianity, and also the Torah and the Jewish faith, which is the foundation of Christianity, obviously, the God, quote unquote, of these pagan religions is relatively powerless, and he needs worship, and he needs blood, and he needs life to get going again.
Are you sure you aren't talking about the God of the Torah, the God of the Old Testament? He sure is violent, even demanding genocide, rape, murder, adultery, human sacrifice, and demands worship. So much so that it is demanded in 3 out of the 10 of his commandments. You shall have no other gods but me. You shall not make for yourself any idol, nor bow down to it or worship it. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God. The God of the Bible, the one you worship, sure seems to have some insecurity issues and some pretty heavy requirements of his followers. I think I'll stick to the pre-Christian pantheons of European culture.
And so that's why in these kind of ancient things, and you see this documented both archaeologically and in the Bible. The Bible clearly talks about, both in the Torah and in the historical books of the Old Testament, that all the nations, these pagan nations like the Moabites and the Canaanites and all the rest of them, they all practiced human sacrifice, and they would kill babies, they would kill children on these feast days.
Are we still talking about Yule? No, we've traveled back to the ancient Near East for whatever reason. Not all Christian cultures are the same, even ones that are at least separated by 3,700 miles and nearly 4,000 years.
And why did they do this? Because, as it says in Leviticus, the blood is the life. And they believe that by shedding innocent blood, especially younger, like babies or children or, teenagers, that they would get this enormous amount of energy that they could feed to the Dark Lord.
What the hell are you talking about? Where are you getting this nonsense from? Dark Lord? Dark Lord who? Satan? The northern European tribes that celebrated winter festivals like Yule didn't believe in Satan, though Moabites and the Canaanites didn't believe in Satan.
And of course, ultimately, even though they have different names for this horned god, he's really the devil. He is Satan, the evil one.
Nope. There is no description of Hasatan in the Bible. In the 3rd century CE, other pre-Christian religions' gods were considered evil. The common image of Satan became what we know of around 1260 CE. Satan looks like horned gods because artists depicted Satan as pre-Christian gods, being drawn with horns from Hathor and hooves from Pan, for example.
And as a result of that, they believe they have to feed through human sacrifice the energies to this Dark Lord, and that this Yule feast day is one of the critical times when they do this.
Wow, what a huge load of bullshit.
It's absolutely critical, because just like, when you think about it, in the human, act of reproduction, I mean, it's a if a couple, for example, is having trouble conceiving, the moment of conception is very important. And, so that's why they pour all of this blood and torment. And this is horrible stuff, and I'm sorry to talk about it.
But you are making this up, so why do you also feel the need to apologize? Why not just not make this crap up? I know you hate modern-day pagans and witches and actively misrepresent us and try to make us look like evil people, and I often wonder why. If you are going to make such outrageous claims, then you have to support your claims. So where is the evidence, Mr. BS? Where is the evidence?
But people need to understand that beneath all of the tinsel and happiness and all this stuff, there's this very dark underbelly.
Absolutely.
And by participating in it, even though they say, well, that's not what we're about the birth of Jesus. Well, the problem is, you can prove scripturally that Yahushua, Jesus, was born in the fall. He wasn't born in winter. He wasn't born on December 25th or December 23rd or any of that. That's historical nonsense.
How is it that modern-day pagans and witches are somehow responsible for the mistake of the imaginary character of Jesus' birthday being wrong? That's not our fault. That's your infallible word of God being wrong. If people got the birth date wrong, maybe there's a reason they settled on this date. Either way, it's no one's fault except the ones who spread this nonsense.
Because, you can look, and I don't know if you want to take the time to explore it, but You look at what's in the Gospel of Luke.
Gospel of Luke, which comes from the Greek Lucas? That's the name of Lucifer according to Dan Bodan. That's the name of Lucifer according to this guy Dan. Wait a minute, isn't Luke the same name that comes from Lucas, which means light bearer and deceiver?
Santa Claus is anagram for Satan and Lucas. Lucas means misleading, blind, and light.
If so, maybe Lucifer is the one who claims that he was born in the spring. So maybe Satan is fooling you.
Which has the most detailed infancy narrative of the four Gospels, and it explains that. You know, he was born, he would have to have been born, oddly enough, he would have been conceived around the time of Hanukkah, which is, of course, the Jewish feast that's in the fall, the winter. And then he would have been born in the early part of fall, during the Feast of Tabernacles, because it says in John's Gospel, chapter 1, the Word became flesh and tabernacled among us. These pagans, they don't, of course, believe in that, and instead they think they have to do all this human sacrifice.
No, you moron. You claim they do it, and yet again you offer no proof or evidence of this happening. Who, where, and when, Mr. BS? Who, where, and when?
You know, let me just share a quick parable. Imagine if you get married, and you got this new bride, and she says, well, honey, I know your birthday is in the fall, but would you mind if we celebrated your birthday on the birthday of my old boyfriend?
This has got to be the stupidest analogy I have ever heard.
And yet that's what we're doing. We're saying, well, you know, Yahushua, I'm your bride, because that's what we are as Christians. We're the bride of Messiah. And that I know your birthday isn't on December 25th, but before I was saved, my old husband, quote unquote, was Satan. My old husband was Baal or Moloch or whatever, Nimrod or whatever name you want to give, and I want to celebrate your birthday on his birthday because it's more fun.
You're saying that Christians celebrating Christmas on December the 25th instead of some other date in the spring is the same thing as a wife refusing to celebrate her husband's birthday and instead wants him to change it to her ex-boyfriend's birthday. God has no birthday. If he created everything and is omnipresent, then he effectively created time. In the very beginning, there was no time. There was no birth, unless you want to enter the philosophical question of what was before God. I didn't think so. Secondly, there is no exact date of Jesus' birth, and since he is God in the flesh, why would any day matter as all days are his birthday, and any day is just as good as another? Lastly, who knows? Maybe God wants the birthday to be December the 25th. I mean, he could have specified that in the Bible, but he didn't.
The Freemasons alone, we could do like 3-4 shows alone. And same thing with Wicca and all that. And but a lot of great stuff, folks. And if you're into any of these things, and we're not chastising you, but you know, you need to come to the cross. And you need to actually know what you're really dealing with.
Oh, good. You're not chastising us for being Wiccans or pagans or Freemasons. You just want to lie about us and make outrageous claims that have no basis in reality. Whew. For a second there, I thought you might chastise us. I feel much better now. Thanks.
Even of those who right now who do believe in us.
What a strange choice of words. Even of those right now who do believe in us. Don't you mean believe you? The only time you might question whether someone will believe you or not is if you are making something up, or it is something that you know people would have a hard time believing. If you know this will be hard to believe, then you would prepare for doubt. You would have certain facts and evidence accessible. Instead, as usual, it's just baseless claims.
See you next time.
Thank you all for watching. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas or Saturnalia or Yule or winter solstice or whatever it is that you celebrate. Thank you so much, and I will see you in hell, you heathens.
This guy's so full of shit.